introduction to Daniel Defoe, one of the greatest writers, fiction writers in English, and outline story of Robinson Crusoe. Daniel Defoe was the forefather of novel writing in English literature, one of the greatest writers of all times as well. And here you can see his masterpiece, his magnum opus, that is Robinson Crusoe. And that's a spiritual journey as well. With the physical journey, it is a spiritual journey of Robinson Crusoe as well, because changes are made by nature in human beings. Human beings are reluctant to have any change, but nature imposes changes on him, that you should adapt yourself according to different situations that I put before you. So this kind of story it is, that human beings are very flexible and they adapt themselves according to the challenging situations as well. Robinson Crusoe is a traveler here, and we see that how he changes himself according to the situation. He has been dropped, or he has been landed on a lonely island, and there was none to help him, and how he did help himself there, and how he managed to live alone on an island where there was nothing to eat ready-made, and there was nothing to enjoy with. So how he managed himself to live there, we will be reading here, and what were the troubles in the new place, and what would have been the problems of Adam and Eve when they first landed on this earth. So similar is the case with Robinson Crusoe. So it seems that's a copy of that event, that how they might develop life on this earth, and what were the difficulties of the first men who were there on the earth when it was quite deserted without men and women. So dear students, we'll be reading such kind of events in Robinson Crusoe, and we would have a very short introduction of Daniel Defoe as well. Here you can see the first slide of this session, that is Daniel Defoe, its pronunciation Daniel Defoe. And circa means that it's not confirmed that what is his birth year, that has been written down here, and we hope that it was 1660, 24 April 1660, and 1731 his death year. Born Daniel Defoe, his real name that his parents put on him, or his parents were happy with, that was Daniel Defoe, was an English trader. So we see that his father was a trader, and he himself was as well writer. And Daniel Defoe, that's a writer, journalist, pamphleteer, and spy, detective as well, pamphleteer as well. So he issued pamphlets, short pamphlets of some kind of advertisements or literary kind of pamphlets he used to publish at that time, although the publishing system wasn't so developed. And he was a detective as well. He is most famous for his novel Robinson Crusoe. We know that it is his magnum opus, means the writing by which he is alive now on the pages of literature. Published in 1719, this novel was published. No, it wasn't a novel, what I am saying time and again, it's kind of prose writing, and there's fiction writing, but this was not a proper novel. But he was the proponent or forefather of the novel that Richardson was writing, and Henry Fielding and F. Rabin, they were writing novels, but the style was given to them by Daniel Defoe, which was claimed to be second only to the Bible in its number of translations. Robinson Crusoe was translated in so many languages, and it's just second to Bible. Bible might be translated into hundreds of languages, and similar is the case with Robinson Crusoe. He has been seen as one of the earliest proponents of the English novel. As I have said earlier, that he was one of the major proponents of English novel. The people who were laying the foundation of English novel, he was one of them, and helped to popularize the form in Britain with others such as F. Rabin and Samuel Richardson. Samuel Richardson is oftenly known as the father of English literature. You must remember this name, Samuel Richardson. You might be listening it for the first time, so remember it, Samuel Richardson. Defoe wrote many political tracts as well, and was often in trouble with the authorities, as is the case with all the great men on this earth, that they have some trouble with the authorities, they have some trouble with political leaders, with political ideologies, and similar was the case with Daniel Defoe, and spent a period in prison. And it was why that he spent so many years in prison, like Nelson Mandela of our times, and like other great leaders of our times. So it's a custom in the on this earth. Intellectuals and political leaders paid attention to his fresh ideas and sometimes consulted with him. So intellectuals were pretty interested in his ideas, and they used to have a touch to him, have a contact with him, so that they would get new ideas. So it was all about Daniel Defoe. I hope that you are clear about Daniel Defoe and there is no problem in studying him. So here's the novel. There's a summary of that novel, Robinson Crusoe. Crusoe wants to travel in his life using a ship. So it was his wish to travel throughout the world. So he becomes a traveler as well. But what happened? His father, on the other hand, is interested in Crusoe becoming a middle class law guy. His father was interested to make him a middle class law guy, means lawyer. He defies his father's authority, but he was against that, and also God's. And he was against God as well, because by deciding to leave for an adventure on the sea on his own, because he wanted to travel on the sea by himself without any kind of help, and that's his mistake, because he violated the customs of the age, he violated he violated his parents, his father especially, and he violated the law of God. So let's see what happens. He sets off and sails for some time. He went on some travel, on some journey or voyage, you may say, because it's a sea travel, that is voyage. During his period, he makes some money from the trade. After some time, he is captured and turned into a slave in Africa's coast, as it happened at that time that he was enslaved in Africa's coast. He meets a man by the name Zuri. You would pronounce it as Zuri, because whenever X comes at the beginning of any English word, it becomes Z sound, not XQD, but it is Zuri. And together they escape from their captors. So here they are successful in relieving themselves from their captors, from their masters of the time, you may say. So the people who captured them, he was successful to escape from them. Crusoe gets lucky to be accepted by a Portuguese captain. So a Portuguese captain means who was leading that ship, he picked him. That captain from Portugal picked him, and he manages to make it into Brazil. So he took him to Brazil. He does well there and manages to buy a plantation of sugar. Okay, that's the proceeding, that he managed to be a farmer there, a very successful farmer there. So Robinson Crusoe becomes a farmer there, and he planted sugar there in Brazil. Soon he gets involved in the slave trade, and that's his second business, that he started slave trade, that he would import and export slaves from there and to there, where they would procure slaves taken from Africa, and they would get slaves that have been taken from Africa and Brazil in United States, in America. On the journey, the ship gets wrecked, and on some journey the ship gets wrecked, it was destroyed by some accident. So what happens? Now the story begins, and Crusoe becomes the only one who survives. Now he is the only survivor there. He makes it to an island that was deserted. So that was a lonely island, and he was landed there. Now the story, real story of Robinson Crusoe starts. Hope students, you are keeping yourself with me, and there's no problem. So his time alone on this island is also productive. He didn't waste his time there on the island that, oh, what happened to me? I am stuck there, I am deserted, I am devastated, I am ruined. He didn't complain to anyone because there was no one to complain with. So he manages to build a shelter for himself. He goes on to build a country home on the opposite side of this island. Also, he constructs a So he rescues a young native from them and names him Friday. That's one thing that is good enough. Okay, we were not there. Let me go reverse. Okay, we were here. Also, he constructs a fort containing ammo and guns. Now he's making some ammunition, and that has some ammunition because he has found there some guns and some ammunition there, and there was some kind of guns in his own ship. The people were gone away, passed away, but the guns and ammunition was there in the ship. So he collected that, and you may say that he puts them in that fort. Crusoe plants some kind of barley and corn and rice, some kind of grain, you may say. He even teaches himself bread making there as well. So he is managing and he is preparing himself to live there. Crusoe builds furniture, baskets, and some pottery with his time. He also raises goats and has a family of animals consisting of cats, dogs, and even a parrot, which he recovered from the ship. Crusoe is strengthened religiously, and he submits to the will of God in prayer. So you see, that's the change in all of this slide. We see that now he has grown up a different person. Because he is spiritually becoming well, because there is no one to help him and there is only God to help him, and now he has come to understand that there is some God, and I have to succumb and surrender myself to his will. And that's the spiritual progress in Robinson Crusoe there on the island. So one day Crusoe discovers a footprint on his shore, there where he was living on the island, and he realizes that he wasn't alone. He thought that there was someone else as well. So there were cannibals on the island. You know about cannibals? If you don't know, please Google it. It's a very important word. Cannibal, the creature that used to eat human beings. He rescues a young native from them. So there was a team of cannibals, army of cannibals, and that army was having a native, a human being, and Robinson Crusoe was able to save that human being from that set of cannibals because he had guns and he has so much ammunition that the cannibals didn't know about. He rescues a young native from them and names him Friday. So the native that was rescued by Robinson Crusoe, his name was Friday. Rather, we can say that Robinson Crusoe named him as Friday because he caught him on Friday. So this Friday, this man becomes his slave, Robinson Crusoe's slave. He teaches him English and even makes him a Christian. So Robinson Crusoe made him Christian and made him learn some English words. Crusoe and Friday rescue Friday's father and a Spaniard from other cannibals. So that's important that Crusoe and Friday rescue Friday's father as well from a group of human beings who were Spaniards. Spaniards were living on the neighboring island. Sometime later, an English boat filled with sailors arrives. So So we see that sometimes later an English boat filled with sailors arrived at the shore and they would really help him. Crusoe discovers that the sailors were planning a mutiny against the ship's captain. He discovers that there were sailors and they are planning to capture the captain, and helps restore the ranks and order to the ship. So he helps the captain, and now they are successful to get the ship again. So now the captain agrees to take Crusoe home. Crusoe makes it back to Europe in the company on Friday. His plantations had made much money. So that's a progress in the novel, that the plantations, that the garden that he planted there in Brazil, so that was grown up now, because 2.5 decades have been passed now, and now it has progressed a lot. So he made a lot of money there in Brazil when he approached there. Crusoe gets married and in his late years visits the island. So the island that he used to live, and he was alone there with Friday afterwards. So he visited that island afterwards as well in his life. He got married again because his wife was dead when he returned to England. He returned to England, and afterwards he went in Brazil where he planted, and he got so much money, and he returned to England as well, and he gave so much money to his sisters as well. So that's the progress in his character, because now he is spiritually well, and now he knows the importance of relatives. Now he came to know about the importance of obedience to the Father and God. But now it's too late, but it's never too late, because there are sisters to help. So he helped his sisters, he helped other relatives and neighboring persons who were living in his neighborhood. So he was good in all these things. Now he has been changed. He is a changed person now. So we see that travel was very helpful in teaching him that what is life, and there is no life without persons, without relatives, and without society, and without family and friends especially. So we see that Crusoe gets married and his late years visits the island. The novel ends there. So it's a happy ending after a long struggle of Robinson Crusoe, but the changes that he made in himself were quite important. How he managed to live alone on the island, because as I have said earlier, man is very flexible and he can live in any situation, and that's good for human beings. And it was why that Darwin said that human species are the oldest one on this earth. And what was the reason that he mentioned was that his flexibility, because other creatures on the earth are not so flexible as human beings. So that's the end of this novel. That's the summary of this novel. Hope you are very clear about the summary of this novel, and there is no problem. If you have problems, then please ask me, inquire me.